Libra, there is a version of your life that you have imagined in the quietest, most unguarded moments, the ones where you allow yourself to want things without immediately measuring the distance between the wanting and the having. A version where the financial pressure that has been humming in the background of your days, sometimes louder and sometimes softer, but almost always present, finally goes silent, where the calculations stop, where the careful, exhausting management of resources and priorities and what can wait and what absolutely cannot gives way to something you have not fully experienced in longer than you want to admit. Ease. Genuine, sustainable, this is actually my life ease. That version is not the fantasy you have been telling yourself it is. It is not the wishful thinking of someone who has been working hard enough and waiting long enough that their mind has begun to construct beautiful fictions to sustain the effort. It is a real place, a real destination, and you are closer to it right now in this exact season of your life than the distance between where you have been and where you are going has made it feel. Something is shifting in your financial world, fundamentally, structurally, in the way that real shifts operate, not at the surface where things can be reversed easily, but at the root, at the level of what is possible for you, at the level of the options available to you, and the quality of your daily experience, and the specific, particular, deeply personal freedom that comes when money stops being the thing that determines every other thing. When it stops being the lens through which every decision is filtered, when it moves from the foreground of your life, where it has been taking up significant space and energy and attention for far too long, to the background where it belongs, where it becomes infrastructure rather than preoccupation. You are heading toward that directly, unmistakably, with a momentum that has been building beneath the surface of ordinary days in ways you have not been fully able to see, but have perhaps been quietly, tentatively feeling. A shift in the quality of possibility, a slight warming in the energy around certain opportunities, a sense, difficult to articulate but real, that something is about to change in the material landscape of your life in a way that is not temporary. Let me tell you what has been happening and why now is the moment things are beginning to move. You have been undervalued for a long time, and in ways that span more than one area of your life. You have been contributing at a level that has not been fully matched by the return. In your professional life, your creative life, your relational life, and the various arenas where you show up with your extraordinary ability to see what is needed, to understand what is missing, to bring beauty and balance, and the specific intelligence of someone who perceives the full picture rather than just the obvious parts. The compensation, in every sense of that word, has not been proportionate to what you actually bring. You have known this in the honest, private part of yourself that keeps a quiet tally of these things without making it a grievance. You have known it, and you have continued showing up anyway, continued bringing the full quality of your gifts to spaces that were receiving them at a discount, continued believing through the sustained and sometimes very difficult practice of patient faith that eventually the equation would correct itself. The equation is correcting itself. Now, in this season, with the specific quality of a correction that has been delayed long enough that when it arrives, it carries not just the value of the present moment, but the accumulated interest of everything that was undercompensated before it. This is not a small adjustment. This is a reckoning. The world catching up with what you are actually worth in a way that is going to register in your daily reality, in your bank account, in the concrete and tangible and unmistakable landscape of what your life is able to look like. The soft life for Libra is a very specific thing, and it is different from what it looks like for other signs, because you are different, because the relationship between Libra and ease is not as simple as someone who has been working hard finally getting to rest. It is more nuanced than that, in the way that everything about Libra is more nuanced than its surface suggests, because you have not merely been working hard, you have been working beautifully, bringing to everything you do a quality of care and thoughtfulness and aesthetic intelligence that most people cannot replicate even when they try. And the soft life for Libra is not the absence of that quality of engagement. It is the conditions under which that engagement can finally happen freely, without the weight of financial anxiety distorting it, without the pressure of necessity turning it into something it was never meant to be, labor in the heavy, obligated sense, rather than the creative, chosen, I am doing this because it is genuinely mine sense. The soft life for Libra is the life where your extraordinary gifts get to be expressed rather than deployed, where the creativity flows because it wants to rather than because it must, where the beauty you create in the world through your work, through your relationships, through the specific and irreplaceable way you move through every space you inhabit happens from fullness rather than from the quiet desperation of someone who needs it to produce a particular outcome in order for their life to function. That is the life that is arriving. And it is arriving through several doors simultaneously, which is part of why it has such a different quality than the financial moments that have come before it in your story. One of those doors is professional. Something in your working life, a recognition, a shift in how your contributions are valued, a new arrangement or opportunity or breakthrough in a project that has been building towards something significant is about to change the financial equation in a way that is not incremental, not the small, gradual improvement of someone steadily moving up, something more categorical, something that changes the tier, that moves you from the version of your professional life where you are doing excellent work for insufficient return to the version where the return finally, genuinely, in real and material terms, reflects the actual quality of what you are offering. This recognition is coming from a direction that may surprise you, not from the source you have been most focused on necessarily, not from the effort you have been putting in with the most conscious intention. From somewhere slightly unexpected, a connection, an opportunity, a convergence of circumstances that create something larger than any one of its individual components. Pay attention to the unexpected. Pay attention to the arrival that comes from the side rather than straight ahead. Libra's most significant opportunities have a habit of appearing at angles not directly in the line of sight, but in the peripheral vision, requiring the particular wide-angle awareness that is one of your most distinctive gifts to notice. Notice, another door is creative. There is something you have been developing, something that lives in the intersection of your intelligence and your aesthetic sensibility and your deep, particular understanding of what creates genuine resonance in the world that is approaching the moment of its real emergence, not the quiet, tentative emergence of something that is not yet sure of itself. The full, confident, this is what it was always becoming emergence of something that has been in formation for long enough and is now ready to be fully in the world. And when it emerges, when it reaches the people it was made for, when it finds its audience and its moment, and the specific alignment between what it offers and what the world is ready to receive, the financial impact of that emergence is going to feel disproportionate to anything that came before it, larger, more sudden, more real. This is not coincidence. This is the natural result of something being genuinely good and finally reaching the conditions in which its goodness can be properly recognized. You have always created things of genuine quality. The world is catching up to that quality now. There is also a third door, and this one is the one I want you to pay the most careful attention to, because it is the one that Libra most often misses or minimizes or fails to fully walk through even when it is standing wide open. It is the door of simply receiving, of allowing abundance to arrive without immediately finding a reason it should not or a cost attached that has not yet revealed itself or a way in which this is probably not as good as it seems. The door of receiving financial good fortune without the Libra pattern of treating it as a problem to be managed rather than a gift to be inhabited. Because you do this, Libra, in the most loving and least self-aware way possible. You manage abundance in ways that prevent you from fully experiencing it. Something good arrives financially, and your first instinct is to think about where it needs to go, who needs some of it, what debt or obligation it should address, how to be responsible with it, in a way that ensures it does not simply disappear. These instincts are not wrong. They come from your genuine wisdom about money, and your genuine care for the people in your life, and your genuine understanding that abundance is only meaningful if it is used with some intelligence. But in the moments when abundance is first arriving, before the allocation and the planning and the careful stewardship, there needs to be a moment of simply feeling it, of letting it land in your body as something real and good and yours, of receiving it the way you receive very little completely without immediately redirecting it somewhere else. Practice that. In this incoming season, as the financial shift makes itself real in your daily life, practice the radical Libra act of allowing yourself to simply have something, to feel the security of it, to let it change the quality of your breathing and your sleeping and your waking and the specific texture of your ordinary days without immediately earning it again through the next act of responsible stewardship. You have earned the rest. You have earned the ease. You have earned the morning where the first thought is not a calculation but something softer, a plan, a desire, a simple and uncomplicated sense of what you want to do with a day that belongs entirely to you. Those mornings are coming, Libra, more of them than you currently think possible, because what is arriving is not a single improvement in your financial situation, but a structural change in your relationship with money and freedom, and the way time gets to be organized around what you actually want rather than what the circumstances demand. The soft life is not a moment. It is a new configuration, a new baseline, a new understanding of what ordinary looks and feels like that is going to make the version of ordinary you have been living in for too long feel, in retrospect, like something you should have left sooner. You could not leave sooner. Everything arrived when it was meant to arrive, including this, including you, the specific, fully arrived, no longer willing to accept less than your worth version of you that has been forming through all the seasons of undervaluation and careful management and sustained effort without adequate return. That version of you is the one who is capable of receiving what is coming, not the earlier version, the one who would have received abundance and immediately redistributed it out of guilt or generosity or the unconscious belief that having too much was somehow dangerous or unseemly or more than they deserved. This version, the one who knows their worth in the specific embodied non-negotiable way that only comes from having gone long enough without it being reflected back to them, the world is about to reflect it back in numbers, in opportunities, in the concrete, real, this changes everything, material reality of a financial life that finally completely mirrors the value of the person living it. And here is what I want you to understand about what this means for the way you move through your days. The soft life, for you, is not the absence of engagement or creativity or the particular kind of meaningful work that has always been central to who you are. It is the presence of choice. The luxury, and for Libra, this is genuinely a luxury in the deepest sense of deciding each morning not what you must do but what you want to do. Of bringing your gifts to the projects and people and endeavors that genuinely deserve them rather than to whatever happens to be paying. Of creating from inspiration rather than obligation. Of being generous from abundance rather than from the anxious impulse to give away what you have before something takes it from you. This is what changes. The generosity stays. It is too central to who you are to ever be removed, and you would not want it removed, but it changes in quality. From the generosity of someone who is managing scarcity and giving anyway, which is heroic and exhausting, to the generosity of someone who is swimming in abundance and sharing naturally, which is simply joy, pure, uncomplicated, nobody is sacrificing anything joy. That joy is coming. It is dressed in financial freedom and time sovereignty and the ability to live beautifully in the fullest sense, not just aesthetically, though Libra's surroundings will certainly improve, and you deserve surroundings that actually reflect the quality of your inner world, but beautifully in the sense of a life that is in genuine harmony, where the outer reflects the inner, where the resources available to you match the quality of what you bring to the world, where the exchange is finally, genuinely, sustainably fair. Fairness, that is the thing you have always wanted, not extravagance for its own sake, though pleasure is certainly welcome, not excess that feels unmoored from meaning, but fairness, the fundamental, bone-deep Libra desire for things to be right, for the equation to balance, for what goes out and what comes in to occupy the same side of the scale, for your labor and your gifts and your extraordinary quality of presence in the world to be met with their equivalent in material and relational and creative return. The scale is balancing. Right now, in this season, with this financial shift arriving through multiple doors at once, the scale is finding the equilibrium you have been waiting for. Not the performed equilibrium of someone who has learned to look balanced even when they are not the real kind. The settled, sustained, this is actually how things are now kind that does not require daily maintenance because it is not a performance. It is the truth. Welcome to the truth of your financial life, Libra. The one that was always coming. The one you kept faith with even in the seasons when the faith required more than seemed available. The one that looks like freedom and feels like rest and sounds like the silence of a calculation that no longer needs to be made. Welcome to the soft life. It has been waiting for someone exactly like you to arrive and inhabit it fully. You are here.